Okay guys, here's a nice video over equations of circles. So remember doing what we did last class where we had this basic form of circles. Okay, now we're going to get something that doesn't look like this, but we're going to need to get it into this in order to graph. So let's take a look. Okay guys, one thing that we have to refresh is how to complete the square. For these ones, we're going to have to complete the square in order to help us graph these circles. When we're doing that, remember, that's when we want to make it a perfect square trinomial. So we're going to end up looking like a factor something like this. So that's when we take half of the b term, so half of 6, so x plus 3, and then we square it. So 3 squared is 9. Okay? And then our factored form of it is x plus 3 squared. Okay? Now, same thing over here. We're going to complete the square, so half of 14 is 7, so x minus 7, remember it keeps that sign, okay? And then now 7 squared is 49. Okay? That's going to help us when we go to these next type of graphing problems for circles. Some steps to look at. First, you need to group the x's and y's together, and then leave some space behind both of those, and space on the right side of your equation. Then we're going to complete the square, and then we're going to factor them, and you'll kind of see as we do a couple of these examples. So for this one, if we look, we can't just graph this, okay? We have x squareds and x's, y squareds and y's. We didn't have that previously, so we can't just graph this using hk and our radius. So the first thing I need to do is I need to get my x's and y's on the same side and my number on the other side. So I'm going to have x squared plus 20x, and then I'm going to leave some space. Okay, plus y squared plus 8y, leave some space, equals negative 112, because I would have to subtract this 112 to get it over to the other side. Now, here's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to complete this square to get this into the form that we know how to graph for circles. Okay, so I'm going to put a plus blank. Okay, and then I know I'm going to end up writing something like this when I complete the square. Now I'm going to use blue for the other side. Okay, so then I'm going to have squared. Okay, and I'm going to put a plus sign in between them. Equals, and then we're going to have a number over on this side. But let's go and work this. So if I add red to one side, I have to add red to the other side. If I add something on blue to the left side, I also have to add it to the right side. Okay, so now let's go ahead and complete the square here. Half of 20 is 10, so x plus 10. Square 10 is 100. Okay, now let's do the other side. Half of 8 is 4, so y plus 4. Square it, 16. Okay, so if I added 100 to one side, I have to add it to the other. If I added 16 to one side, I have to add it to the other. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and clean up this right side. Negative 112 plus 100, well, that's negative 12 plus 16. That's going to give me a positive 4. Okay. Now, if I look at this guy right here, I can actually graph this. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it so I have a little bit more space to graph. So I have x plus 10 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 4. Okay. I'm going to erase this so I can actually use my graph. Now, let's just graph this like we did yesterday, okay? This plus 10 tells me that I'm going to go to the left 10. This plus 4 tells me I'm going to go down 4. And my r squared is 4, so that means my r is going to be 2, okay? Now, let's go ahead and graph this. I'm going to go to the left 10, put my dot, or then down 4. And now let's go ahead and use our radius. We're going to go up 2, right 2, down 2, and left 2. And then we're going to go ahead and draw in my circle. Okay? Now I know this takes a little bit of steps in the beginning, but the more you do them, the easier they get and the quicker they get. Let's look at another example. Okay, for this example, we're going to do the same thing. The first thing we need to do is get our x's and y's together. So I'm going to have x squared minus 6x. Now leave some space because we know we're going to have to complete the square. plus y squared plus minus 4y, and then we'll use some space, equals, and the 3's already over there, so that kind of helped us out. We don't have to move the number over to the other side because it's already over there. Now, we know that we're going to have to do plus blank, and if I do it to the left side, I have to do 2 things to the right side. So let's go ahead and set this up. I'd always set this up so that you know where you're going to fill in your blanks in a sense. Okay, so half of -6 is 3, so x minus 3, square it, which will be 9. Then I have y minus 2, because half of -4 was 2. Square that is going to be 4. Okay, so if I added 9 to one side, I have to add it to the other side. If I added 4 to one side, I have to add it to the other side. Okay, now 3 plus 9 plus 4 is 16. Okay. Now, so that tells me that I'm going to go to the right 3 and up 2 to get my center. Okay, or if you like to do it with the h and k, our center is 3, 2. Okay, and our r squared is 16. Okay, so that means our radius is going to be 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph this. We go to the right 3, up 2, put our dot. That's our center, so we'll go to the right 4, down 4, left 4, and up 4. And let's go ahead and draw on our circle. Alright, that's kind of a terrible circle. Alright, so now that's all we're doing for these. So you have to kind of do a first step to rewrite it in a form that we know how to graph, which is this part right here. Once you get that, it's pretty easy peasy like we did yesterday. Go ahead and try the practice problems.